What's up, you guys? It's your girl, Daysha E, and we are back for another great episode of Culture or Clickbait, where we take the hottest headlines in music, sports, and entertainment and determine whether it's for the culture or simply
for clicks.
Cool. Y'all, we gonna get right on into it because I know y'all missed us and we got some stuff to talk about. And I know y'all see Dante. I know y'all probably got questions, but yeah, we just gonna get into it. Tyrese said he was not acting in Baby Boy when he did that infamous scene with Melvin. Y'all take a look at the scene.
Mom. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Call for your mama. I stayed off your ass out of respect for that woman. But if it wasn't for your mama, I would have broke your little ass down a long time ago.
In that scene, y'all saw Ving Rhames and Tyrese really getting into it. And Tyrese said that scene was triggering for him. Dante, I know you saw this scene. This is one of those, like, if you seen this movie, you know this scene where Melvin muscled up Tyrese in the chair and choke him out a little bit. Now, Tyrese said he was triggered. Do you really, believe that Tyrese was triggered by this situation?
Man, I ain't gonna lie. Sometime lately, I feel like Tyrese do a lot of clickbaiting at kind of stuff. So I don't know for real. I couldn't really take the video serious too much because I just don't think you can still be triggered all these years later by something that made you, one, a lot of money. For two, it's acting. So whether it was on purpose or not, I don't think you're still triggered by that.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I think that he really was triggered, and we can now call it traumatized at the fact that when being on $1 million worth of game and asked about it, the fact that he said he was triggered just goes to show that he's traumatized by it. Now, granted, Melvin's character very much gave OG, triple OG type of vibes, so I'll probably be a little traumatized too. And then if you have a father figure in your life, like as a male, I'm almost sure y'all get muscled up all the time, so it could have brought up some old feelings about stuff. But while we here talking,
he said it brought back some PTSD, but yeah.
I'm sure it did. It did. I'm almost sure it did. But while we talking about Tyrese, we have to also talk about his Breakfast Club interview where he sat down and Charlamagne had asked him about how does he deal with traumas and a lot of the grief and stuff that he's been dealing with. And Tyrese definitely let it be known that he's just doing the best he can with every 24 hours that he gets. And I know y'all saw the infamous crying scene of that interview where Charlamagne offered him some tissue and Tyrese threw the tissue. But listen, you're laughing, but that was a real moment. Black men can cry. I need y'all to understand right here that black men can cry. And all he was trying to say was, I'm feeling these emotions, let me feel them. I don't need no tissue, I'm good.
Do your thing, Tyrese. I ain't mad at you. If you're gonna cry, go ahead and cry. We all gotta cry sometime.
He always crying, but
what
he was
Michelle
crying
say?
with a purpose.
You gonna cry, yeah.
Now this topic right here is very much cultural because there's so many different things to unpack, right? Yeah. Tyrese has lost a lot of people in his life, from his mother to his sister to John Singleton to Paul Walker and even down to his divorce. So grief is real. A lot of the time, men aren't given the space and opportunity to display how that grief feels. So keep crying, Tyrese. If that's what you need to do to get over it, I'm not a therapist, but if that's what you need, cry it out, sir. This is definitely for the culture right here, and we just gonna take it on to the next thing.
Daysha, so in other news, Cam Newton this week is under fire on social media after sitting down with Dr. Bryant, where she basically read him like a book about his thoughts on marriage and children. Take a look at this video.
You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active, okay?
So, Dr. Bryant told him verbatim that these choices that he's making is on purpose. You're not running away from marriage. You're trying to find your right woman in the process of making a lot of broken homes. And these broken homes could cause many different issues for these women, but you technically don't see a problem in it. Honestly, if you ask me, my opinion, and I'm not gonna go too deep on it today, but there was a time in my life where I felt exactly like Mr. Cam Newton. Now, Daysha, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Hearing that, it was like putting a mirror to me and said, I feel so bad for the people I've dated in the past, and I've said that too. I just want to go back and apologize because I meant you no harm. I was ignorant.
Just trying to figure it out.
I was just trying to figure it out.
I'm just a boy. Not a I'm just a boy moment, but I think the conversation was very much needed. I think that was the perfect display of a grown man and a grown woman sitting down having an uncomfortable conversation about some of the decisions that they chose to make and how those decisions play out in real life. And I feel like a lot of the time we don't really deep dive into the choices that we're making. We think to like a certain point, and there's a bunch of other moving parts that are affected by our decision making. So I think it was a great conversation to be had. And I think that they carried the conversation very well as Cam received her very well.
Right.
So I don't know how you feel about this, but this was a culture conversation.
I definitely think it was a culture conversation. Now, I would hate to feel like any way about it was clickbaity, but I think in the eyes of Cam Newton, it was for the culture because it was a conversation that the culture honestly needs to unpack a little bit more.
In music, Marques Houston is back on the scene and he premiered a little clip from his new music video, Cowgirl. But Marques is not done. Not only does he have this new music video, he'll be dropping a new album, but also a documentary to go along with it. And he is planning to release this on the 30th of August. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to hear from Marques Houston. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I still listen to Marques Houston to this day, and I could show you on my phone that I'm so serious. Like, I feel like Marques Houston transitioning back into music is just really giving R&B is about to make a comeback. For real.
Any millennial from the early 2000s who listened to R&B as as avidly as we did, you are looking forward to this. Now, only thing I'm scared about, and I'm gonna be honest, only thing I'm scared about is it being so long since we heard a Marques Houston song.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the music doesn't sound dated, because we are in a new generation of music, a new sound. So traditional R&B is not received the same way in today's time, unless it's from that time.
Yeah.
But creating traditional R&B in today's day and age, you still have to have some nuances to it. So that's the only thing I'm afraid of when it comes to him. But I love Marques Houston. I'm a Marques Houston fan. Naked was one of my favorite projects.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about like the music sounding dated, but I feel like we have people out like Money Long who gives us like a dated and or early 2000s like feel to her R&B music. So I don't think Marques is gonna miss. I don't know if you saw the little snippet of Cowgirl, but he busted a little circles, little foot thing, and it just very much gave, you're gonna have that same essence that you had when you made Circles. You're gonna have that same vibe in this album. So I'm excited to see what it's about. And I'm excited to see Marques come from behind the Tubi camera.
Oh God.
Back on, y'all know Juanita and Marques Houston produce everything on Tubi.
And Chris Stokes.
And Chris Stokes, them three names. So this shall be interesting. This right here for me is for the culture because like I said, I am still a current listener of Marques Houston. When I say Marques Houston, I mean like mattress music Marques Houston, noise Marques Houston, like
it's definitely for the
naked
culture.
Marques Houston.
In more music news, Maxwell brings the heat this past week with his Tiny Desk premiere. When I tell you Daysha, Maxwell still has not lost it.
No.
It was probably one of my top 5 Tiny Desks I have watched.
Yeah.
And I watch all of Tiny Desk. I don't miss, I even like Trina's, and that was something totally different than Tiny Desk's usual, lineup. And Maxwell got up there and he did his thing. Like the riffs are still there.
Yes.
The vocals, the range. There's no other person like Maxwell. You know how we have these new artists that you can kind of pinpoint who they may sound like. I haven't found one person who can outdo Maxwell.
We don't have a Maxwell evolution.
I would definitely like for y'all to take a look. So if y'all have not seen it, I want to show you guys right now. Let's play a clip from it.
Can't control the feeling, girl, 'cause I know you're here. I feel you from the floor to the ceiling. Girl, I feel you when you braid your hair.
In the video, this is where we see what Maxwell says that we cannot lie about music here. Like Daysha, I want to see how you feel about his performance. Did you watch it?
I did. So I think that his performance was really, really, really great. Like you said, he's a vocalist, so there's no wrong that can be done. He did state that he was sort of kind of nervous and that he was very grateful to Tiny Desk for inviting him on and letting him have the performance. But he did everything that he needed to do. His Ascension performance, his Pretty Wings, he went through so many of his great classic songs that we know Maxwell to be a staple singer and just songstress behind. So it was great. But when he said that this is a place where real music can't lie, I feel like that was basically him trying to say this is a place where real music gets to live. When you come on Tiny Desk, you have to have real music that was impactful, that have changed people's lives, that have really done some real things in order to be him. So I feel like that was him trying to give them back their flowers while receiving his through the performance. So it was overall a great and cultural performance for me.
I would definitely say this is another one for the culture. Maxwell, anytime you put Maxwell in the room, it's definitely for the culture. Going even back to his live performance with little dance on stage, the scoot. That was cultural. Maxwell, you still got it, man.
Danileigh's DUI arrest body cam footage has been circulating online, and let's just say she was drunk. Okay, there's no way around it. Y'all take a look real quick.
Maybe for hitting a child,
I didn't hit nobody.
Oh, it's on camera, so.
That's why you're being on.
So as y'all can see, the police stated to Danny that she did hit and run, as well as she was being stopped for being under the influence. As we go through this video footage as well, they started going through her car and they noticed that there was a bottle of 1942 in the back seat, and it appeared to look damn near empty, honestly. And I'm gonna say this is one of those things where, Danny, you just have to take it, Miss Mamas. Like, we could tell you were drunk simply from saying stuff like, yeah, I'm an R&B singer. Like, yeah, that's what I do. And just singing the last letter of every word, just scream as a girl that you are drunk. You was better off just being quiet.
Right. Like, I feel like in this situation with Danileigh, it was basically pure stupidity, to be honest with you. You're grown, you're old enough, you know better to be riding around with open bottles in your car, especially if you've been drinking.
Exactly.
You can't even get out of saying, I'm not drunk, when you got a whole empty bottle in your car while you're drunk.
Exactly.
You know, and then you can, oh, that's Quavo from the Migos, that's my boy. Girl.
Yeah,
you
Quavo.
just giving them more and more reason to say you're drunk, because now you're bantering for no reason about food.
Yeah.
And the cops are just looking at you like laughing. And I say, I want to like Danileigh so bad because I have always been a fan of her creatively.
Yeah.
Her music, her dancing, everything. But it seems like she constantly finds ways to put herself in the media that makes her look bad.
Yeah.
And that part is what she has to like literally let up on. For me, this gives me clickbait moment, and not necessarily because I just don't find anything cultural about it.
Yeah.
To me, it's all attention seeking, and if it's not, please, Danileigh, please just calm down.
Yeah, I would like to say in reference to this that I feel like, yes, it's clickbait, but I feel like the conversation that needs to be had behind this, which is cultural, is the fact that once you reach a certain status, your status does not buy you out of certain civilian things. Like, you have to be smart enough and mature enough to understand place and time. And like you said, optics. How dare you say you're not drunk, but you got an empty bottle in the back seat of your car? Like, come on. How dare you say I did not hit anybody, because if I would have hit somebody, they would be dead. It's like, bruh, you're killing yourself in this exact moment. Just shut up and be handcuffed. At this point, if you claim to have passed the sobriety test and you feel like they just arresting you just to arrest you, then deal with that on the back end. But the carrying just gave, I'm drunk.
Tell me you drunk without telling me you drunk.
Literally. So Danny, sorry, Buki, but you get a little donkey of the day for this footage coming out type vibe. Just saying. We gonna come up with our own little version of that, cause I don't got time for Charlamagne the God to be over here down our back. But anyway, Danny, tighten up.
All right, so Daysha, in other news, TLC has been canceling their shows recently due to T-Boz's medical issues. She has basically been diagnosed with severe abdominal blockage. This blockage, which was set by her doctor, we needed to be under supervision going into these next few weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I would want to throw this to you really quick, Daysha. What do you feel about just this situation as it comes down to her health and going back to health issues that we've heard of her in the past?
Yeah. So I think that this was a very needed decision. As for some of y'all that don't know, and some of y'all that might be new to the culture or new to TLC, T-Boz does suffer from sickle cell anemia, and that is where your cells are a different shape than how cells should be. They're more of an oval type of situation. So that is something that can contribute to this blockage coming about, as well as she deals with a lot of intense levels of pain with dealing with sickle cell anemia. So I feel like them calling these shows and to cancel the Foxwood show and the Syracuse show, it just is kind of timely, and it's something that should be done because her health is kind of one of those things that is up and down, it's back and forth. You don't know what you're gonna get today.
Right.
So, I mean, this was a well-needed decision, and to T-Boz, we give you your flowers for fighting through sickle cell anemia and still trying to get things done. But then you also have to side with your body and sometimes sit down and take those little breaks. So I just wanna at least give her some love for the attempt. You
Definitely
know?
some love to T-Boz for that. Even down to in their documentary that they did recently, her doctor was like really on her about, you know, all the excessive dancing and things like that, to the point where he would take her off the stage, like, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I think in this case that was a good call, because if he's seen that there's something wrong, that of course her as the talent, the creative, she's gonna try to fight through.
Yeah.
Just to, one, please her fans, but also prove to herself she can do it.
She can do it.
This is his moment where he comes and steps in and say, look, I understand, but we have to cut it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
This is definitely gonna be clickbait for me, but clickbait with good intentions, you know, clickbait with love on the back end. What you think?
I think honestly, it's a cultural conversation. I think for media-wise, it could be clickbait for media purposes, but for the culture, this is actually something the culture needs to be aware of, because one, she's a cultural figure for us.
She is.
And then two, just think about when we talk about health and, you know, work-life balance, like these things are important. We just had a whole conversation about Usher and his health issues, as it regards to performing. So I think this is definitely a cultural conversation, because we can go on and on about artists who have dealt with similar situations, from your Tony Braxtons, you know, all the way back to wanting to perform through their pain.
Yeah.
You know, this is definitely a cultural conversation for me.
In other news, InvestFest 2024 has come and gone all that quick, but they made sure that they left their mark here with two very viral moments, and that's the Nipsey Hussle wax figure, which was great, and then Steve Harvey being displayed in the sky by a bunch of drones. Yeah. Those two things got more coverage than the overall InvestFest itself. Dante, what did you feel about the Steve Harvey thing?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. In this case, and I can say this confidently, this is all clickbait. For one, why are we looking at Steve Harvey in the sky? I would have rather just saw the InvestFest logo plastered, not Steve Harvey. You know, it looked like world domination getting ready to happen. Looking at Steve Harvey over Midtown.
Hunger Games.
Right. Who's the new host? I really wish that InvestFest would have put more time into the actual pre-marketing behind it, because this was the one year that I didn't hear much about it until it was here.
It was happening.
You know, last year there was a lot of talk about InvestFest leading up to it. You know, weeks prior, months prior. The only thing here was, I want to say back in May, they debuted that it would be in Atlanta again, and then it went hush up until the week of.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about like last year, I know it was a lot of debate last year about if InvestFest was more of a money thing than it was an investing thing, investing in people's like knowledge or brands or businesses.
Right, because when
And
people go to InvestFest, they're going to actually gain knowledge and
For
gain
sure.
information for things.
For sure.
But they don't want to feel like the whole event is just ran around taking.
Yeah,
taking.
monetary
And then who's
things.
really investing? Is it just the idea that you're pushing that we invest in our future, so we're here for that information, this is our investment? Or are we actually investing in something that we can take home and utilize?
Yeah.
Go, do bigger things with. Like, what are the resources are we getting from being here other than something I can see on your podcast, because everybody has a podcast now.
Right. What I can tell you that they did invest in was all them drones to get Steve Harvey face up there in the sky, which would have had me shook. I'm not gonna lie. I would have been like, what the hell? I didn't see it happen in real time, but if I did, I would have been taken back. Just as taken back as social media. But even bigger, they also invested in displaying Mr. Official, who was the person who created the Nipsey Hussle wax figure, which looked just like Nipsey. So, sir, great job on that. You did an amazing job, and that was a great way to carry out his legacy and to basically make him almost immortal in a sense. You know, it looks so real. And per Mr. Official, it took 9 months to create that. So some
So what's your
thorough,
take?
deep work.
Do you think this is clickbait up for the culture?
This right here was definitely clickbait. Like maybe clickbait with the intent to try to promote InvestFest, but I can tell you that the antics that took place overshadowed the whole thing of InvestFest for me. What you think?
Clickbait.
For sure.
So in the world of sports today, we have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields going at it for the QB spot at Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Daysha, let me tell you this. I feel quite a few ways about both of them. I'm not gonna lie to you. My personal opinion, neither one of them are the biggest football stars out, but you know, they are at a fight right now for a position that could definitely be show the trajectory of either one of their careers.
Yeah.
Especially for Russell Wilson. It's more important for him because Russell Wilson, I don't know if he realizes your livelihood is at stake. You know, and he recently went on air during a press situation on the sidelines where he told them during the preseason game, hey, you know, I'm just taking it easy. I'm not stressing. I'm not concerned with the outcome. Me as a fan hears that and say, how can you not be obsessed with the outcome, sir?
Yeah.
You know, this is your moment to prove, one, to yourself, but not even to yourself, to your team, Pittsburgh Steelers, that you're worth the investment.
Yeah.
Because right now, the way it looks from this preseason game, Justin Fields has actually been outperforming you, even though you have the better overall stats.
Yeah.
And for you, that could be a bad look.
And you see, I feel like when he was saying to not be concerned, I think he was trying to say to not take that literal about him being concerned. I'm sure that's on the back of his mind of who's going to be the starting quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think that he's thinking, let's think the game. Let's think technique. Let's think building our team to be a strong squad overall. And then we all know Russell Wilson to be very like camera ready and very like prepped and just gonna have these great PR-like responses. So to expect him to get on that interview,
He's be in love with the journey.
yes, because yes, you need to be in love with the journey. It's a process. Y'all want to think about stuff to this point and to this point only when there is a process. And I am a firm believer that the beauty is in the journey, not at the destination, because you play the game for what, a couple of hours and then you win and then it's over with. But the beauty and the hard work, the blood, the sweat and tears, all of that goes into the training process. So he got a valid point. I think people wanted him to be more rah-rah about it because as we see right now in sports across the board, it's a battle between old athletes and new athletes.
And that brings us to Anthony Edwards, Mr. Ant-Man. I'm just gonna pose this one question, out of bounds or in the game? Ant-Man took to social media a few days ago and stated that he felt like the players of today have more skills than the players of back in the day, you know, the 90s and the 80s. You know, he felt like Michael Jordan is the only skilled player from the earliest days of basketball. I honestly feel, let's start off by claiming this right now, this is full on clickbait. It's a cultural conversation needed to be had, yes, because there's a lot of ignorance there, but
Yeah.
it's definitely for clickbait. He even stated in his comment, Daysha, that he didn't take the time to actually even look up any of these old players.
Yeah.
You know, he never paid attention to any of their games or anything like that. So for me personally, especially as a sports lover, how can you even make a statement like that without
being
having
informed.
the adequate information?
Yeah.
Because you're forgetting about people like Magic Johnson, you know, the Patrick Ewings, you know, the
Scottie Pippen.
like all of these guys that actually did something really big in the game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like these are big names, and they actually brought something to the culture. How can you forget about them by saying they're less skilled?
Yes, Shaq.
I
like,
would say this is a moment where maybe
lot.
if you meant something different, you should come back and actually explain that. So if your case is, and if the argument is that, well, I'm not saying that they're less skilled, I'm just saying we are better trained and qualified with, you know, technology. You know, their eating habits that they have now, you
Yeah.
know, the different things that they have now that wasn't really implemented to the same level back in the day.
Yeah.
If that's the argument, let that be the argument. But you cannot discredit these guys' games that they put in the work for after
Yeah.
all of these years, just to say you guys are better. Why? Because you can do a few tricks and turns with the ball.
I feel like he bought himself out of his statement all within making the statement, and I'm gonna explain why I say that. Because he did state that he could be speaking out of term when saying it basically in his statement, but he do feel like the newer players are more skilled. Granted, it was completely like just an asinine statement in general, because how do you get to the evolution of them being more skilled? It had to come from skill somewhere at some point.
You should have.
You should have studied, yes, for sure. So that just goes to show that his studying has a cap to where he studied. He probably studied like
Only Michael Jordan.
clearly as a like older great, but he probably just was a part of the generation of studying people like Allen Iverson or Carmelo Anthony, just like not real, they're now seasoned players, you know what I'm saying? But it was people who came before them. So that just goes to show that he studied to a point, if that makes sense. But he bought himself out of the statement with saying, I do not know. I also did not deep dive and research this, but this is how I feel.
Well,
but that's
Magic
what
Johnson-
happened when you speak with your feelings.
Magic Johnson also had a problem with that as well, because Magic Johnson took to his answer to Stephen A's question during a panel discussion. He basically stated that he will not go back and forth with someone who hasn't even won a championship in their professional career, nor do he even know if they even won one in their high school career.
Yeah.
So I think in so many ways, he literally just told you, Mr. Ant-Man, that your opinion is not valid because you haven't even achieved the things that you want to achieve to say that they are not as skilled.
Like, you think you a baller? You ain't no baller.
You a
ain't even got
baller with no
ring.
championship.
You ain't even got no this. Yeah, he did just wrap that up real quick. Now, Dante, what do you say? Do you feel, I feel like you said this was clickbait already for you.
This is clickbait with a need for discussion, cultural discussion.
Yes, this is definitely clickbait where all younger generation need to be sat down in every field in front of a TV and just watch film of a bunch of great people that came before them, because y'all have to stop getting out in front of these cameras and not being able to pay homage to the people that came before you in the field. It just don't make sense. I'm talking to myself too. We all having a heart to heart, but that's neither here nor there.
You out of bounds, Ant-Man. You out of bounds.
It's your girl Daysha E, and y'all already know I keep the tea here on Culture or Clickbait, where we take the hottest headlines in music, sports, entertainment, and we determine whether it's for the culture or simply
Just for clicks.
y'all come back and see us.